on the content. So yesterday we have already opened up this document and um, we have studied this user agents, etc. And we have also completed one procedure, a registration procedure which has been rejected with 401 unauthorized reason. Later, once the user provided the authentication details, by verifying those authentication details, your SIP server or register accepted that SIP registration and sent back an acknowledgement in the form of an OK. So we are done with that part. So then what else we have? Um, so we're going to study these flows one by one. So the next scenario we are going to study is update of contact list. So Bob, who is already registered with the SIP server, is sending a register method once again in the first step. And it is getting an OK. And what is this register additionally containing? So if you look into the register, you have the register method which is going to the same ss2.biloxy.example.com server. The from address and to address both are having the same SIP URI. In the from address we have the tag field always. So there is no to address tag field because that need to be created by the server. And there is a call ID which is unique number, C sequence and contact. So in the contact here we have there is a mail ID getting updated in the SIP server. In the earlier scenario, in the earlier registration done by the Bob, instead of the mail ID, it has provided its present IP address for the SIP services. So if you go back a little bit to the previous steps that we have looked into, F3 for example, if you look into this register method, it is sending the contact details containing for the SIP or SIPs services. It can be contacted. The Bob guy is telling that my identifier is Bob and I am available at this FQD and fully qualified domain name, which can be converted into an IP address, this client.biloxy.example.com. I am available at this IP address for my SIP or SIP services. SIP secured services. I am available at this IP address. You are quoting that contact details. The idea of the registration is always to provide your contact details for various services. So for the SIP services, this is your IP address, is what the Bob guy is sending to the server. Which server? ss2.biloxy.example.com server. And in the second activity that we are looking at right now, it is sending the contact details. Hey, I am now providing my mail related contact details, bob at the rate of biloxy.example.com. So if anybody wanted to send me a mail, then they can use this ID. It is just as if you can provide lot of contact details on, for example, if you take any VoIP applications like Skype. If you take Skype, in Skype you can have your phone number updated, you can have your mail ID updated, you can have various other contact details updated, including maybe address also. You can update it in Skype to provide your full-fledged information to the people who are adding you into their contact list. So all those things are different types of contacts. Each contact type would be used for a different purpose. Similarly, for SIP session related services, we have to use the previous contact. For mailing purpose, we are going to use this contact, bob@biloxy.example.com. So you can provide any number of types of contacts uh, for the users. So that's the primary idea. So we have the authorization details also provided, and directly your Bob guy is generating his own nonce, the random number on his own. With the help of that random number, it has calculated the response and sent directly, even without the register asking for him asking him for authorization details, you yourself generating a nonce and you yourself generating a response, so that server will take this nonce and will generate the response on his own, compare that response with this response, validate whether the user is genuine or not. So the user authentication. So content length is zero, meaning is SDP data is not present. If you remember yesterday's log file study that we have done on Wireshark, in content length, if it contains SDP data, session description protocol, conveying information related to on what IP address you would like to receive your user traffic, and on what port number you would like to receive the user traffic, and what kind of a codecs that you support, what kind of audio codecs that you support. So such kind of information would be available in the content part. But whenever we are performing the registration, content will be zero, because you are not conveying any multimedia parameters here, because this is just a registration with the server. So there is a okay coming back from the SIP server to Bob, telling you that 200 okay, that I have accepted your um, registration method. Right now, I'm giving you the list of contacts that I have with me from you for two different services, which have got two different expiry times. So, for your SIP services, this is your username and this is your IP address, which is FQDN. And if somebody wanted to send a mail to you, you would like to receive your mails on this particular mail ID, bob@biloxy.example.com, which is having an a very big expiry time, 2 power 32. That value is 2 power 32 minus 1. It is a 32-bit value, maximum value for that. 429 crores 49 lakhs 67,295 is 2 power 32 minus 1. So, but there is a lesser expiry time for SIP services. So you can register with your server for any number of services, not only for SIP, but mail to, maybe message to, or whatever. But content length is zero again. SIP is a very strange protocol. It is designed. Um, it is designed in a very simple manner. For many purposes, we use the same register method. For example, here, to find out what and all the available contacts, also you can send a register method. Inside the register method, you are not going to keep any contact information. Contact field is missing. If the contact field is missing, but you send a register method, server thinks that, hey, this guy is not, he is providing his authorization details, but he is not kept any contact details. So he is asking me to send me the present contact details. He is asking me to tell him what are the contact details that are updated with the server, because contact field is not present in this header fields. You have the start line, but you don't have contact field present. So in the response, server is going to come back and report that these are the two contact details that I have with me. So I'm sending it to you. So even for the cancellation of the registration, your SIP user agent will send the same procedure, register method only. So the same register method can be used for various purposes. It could be used for various mechanisms. So in this register method, we are canceling the registration. How can you cancel the registration with the register method itself? Inside register, you are going to choose a parameter called as expires, whose value is going to be set to 0. Whenever you set the expires value set to 0, that will be considered as deregistration, even though the method we are initiating is register. And in the contact list, you can choose which contact you wanted to deregister. If there are multiple contacts, if you keep a star here, meaning is you are deregistering all your contacts. You are deregistering your SIP service, you are deregistering your mail service when you keep a star there. Instead of star, along with the expires, if you are sending only mail contact detail here, that means that you are only deregistering your mail service. You are not registering your SIP service. You are willing to receive the SIP incoming calls from the server. You are okay with the SIP services to go on, but not the mail services. Or if you quote the SIP service here, with the expires value set to 0, the server will consider this as a deregistration, but only you are deregistering from your SIP services, mails are acceptable. But if star is quoted, it represents all the contacts must be removed. So whatever the services that you have subscribed from the server to provide to you incoming services, you are deregistering from everything. So that's the meaning of the star. So this is deregistration. So the same register, if you see a register method, you just have to not blindly, you cannot imagine that it is actually a registration message itself. It can just be requesting for finding out the present contact details, or it can be deregistration also, even with the register method, because whenever expires is set to 0, it will be considered as a deregistration. So um, you by just looking at the message you cannot understand what exactly that SIP procedure is doing. You have to open the you have to open the message and see the information inside. You need to do that to find out what is happening. All right. Unsuccessful registration. Nothing much in unsuccessful registration. Bob is sending a register. It was sent 401 unauthorized because you did not provide authentication details. But maybe in step 3, you might have provided authentication, but which are failed to be authenticated by the SIP server. So SIP server found out that you are not a genuine guy. It might have rejected by sending the 401 unauthorized once again. So first time you are registering for your SIP services, register method you are proposing with no content length and there is no authentication information attached. From and to address fields are pointing out to the same user, and this SIP message is going to this byloxy.example.com server, and you are getting an unauthorized message from the other side, um, and asking you to authenticate by sending a nonce. Server is challenging you by sending a random number called as a nonce related to MD5 hash algorithm. And what is the duty of the mobile? Need to send back a response. So mobile is sending the register method second time with a response value set to this, with the nonce value resent back, but with the nonce response value set to this. But when the response is verified and it is verified by the server as an incorrect password, so that means you have used the password and nonce to generate this response. That response is not matched with the response generated by the server. Server decided to reject your registration by sending unauthorized message. So it is telling you that, hey, your registration failed once again. I'm sending you the nonce once again. So you have to do the authentication once again. Your SIP user may continue or may not continue. All right. So now we are looking into the SIP session establishments. So till now we have seen all the possible registration examples between the Bob guy and the SIP server, SIP registration server. Now we are going to see session establishment between two user agents called as Alice and Bob. So whenever you are speaking interview language related to SIP, you always should have to use this terminology called as user agents. You should not quote it as mobile phones, or you should not be quoting it as users. Instead of it, you call this as user agents. So two SIP user agents, Alice and Bob. Uh, Alice is available at alice@atlanta.example.com. Bob is bob at biloxy.example.com, are assumed to be SIP phones or SIP enabled devices like um, soft phones. and we are going to study their mechanism. So it is assumed that Bob has registered with the proxy server proxy 2 as per the section 2, the previous one that we have studied, to be able to receive the calls via the proxy. Okay. Now, without uh, proxy being involved, if at all Alice already knew the Bob's IP address somehow, if it is configured in Alice and if we can directly send the invite method to Bob, then how it works out and how the protocol messages look like. So this is an imaginary scenario where Alice is completing a call to the Bob directly by already having the Bob's IP address information with him on his own. So then how the invite will take place. So Alice sends a invite and Bob is sending a provisional response called as 180 ringing. 100 series from 100 to 199 is called as provisional responses. 180 is also a provisional response, 180 ringing. And when Bob picked up the call, it is called as 200 OK. For every final response, you need to send out an acknowledgement for every final response because 200 OK is a final response. You must reply back with acknowledgement, and RTP traffic gets established between Alice and Bob, both way RTP media, so your voice data flow, and at the end, your voiced call will be terminated. Anybody can terminate, either Alice can terminate or Bob can terminate. So in this case, if the Bob is terminating the call by sending a bye, buy is going to be considered as a method. When you initiate a buy method, Alex is going to send a 200 OK to Bob um, as a response, a message to this buy. So these are the steps that are involved in our call flow directly happening between Alice and Bob, bypassing the proxy. Because Alice knew the Bob's contact details directly. So Alice sending an invite to Bob. The method name is invite, and in the URI part, in the request line, you have to copy paste whatever is present in the to address. Whenever invite method is generated, the rule is that whatever is present in the to address, the same URI will be copy pasted into the request URI part also. This is not going to be done in the register method. In register method, from and to, both will be pointing out to the guy who is initiating the call, who is initiating the register method. In earlier example we have studied, Bob's address only was present, Bob's SIP URI was only present in both from and to. But in the actual request URI part, you in the you have SIP server's address. You have the SIP server's address present. But here, when we are generating a invite method, it is getting generated from allies at atlanta.example.com with a from tag. There is no to tag available. Bob at biloxy.example.com is our target. We are not sending this invite method to any server. We wanted to send this invite method to a guy called as Bob, who is presented by loxy.example.com. So this to address, this to SIP URI will be copy pasted into your request line in the form of a request URI. It will be copy pasted there. So indirectly meaning is we are sending this invite method to this particular user agent server. So user agent client is Alice, user agent server is Bob. Both are present in two different domains, being hosted on two different nodes on two different domains. So maximum forwards is 70. There is a wire field added. The wire field is pointing out to Alice address right now. Alice present address is client.atlanta.example.com, which is a FQDN, and the port number it is operating is 5060. It is including it is attaching its wire details. So this definitely is Alice guy, because we know that whoever is generating the message, that guy's information will be in the form of wire field first, and there is a branch parameter for maintaining the transactions, maintaining the number of transactions, and the maximum forwards is 70, and you have additional details, call ID, which is a unique number, and C sequence one invite, contact details, alias at client.atlanta.example.com. So this is the FQDN, which should be converted into an IP address. So alias guy is telling that if anybody wanted to send me the SIP signaling messages directly to me, you please convert this into IP address. You will get my IP address. I'm using a TCP transport. You can contact me here. So it is providing, and there is SDP information present, and content length is 151 bytes of SDP data. And in the SDP data, um, there is a O field which tells th- that there's going to be a random number present in the O field, 526, 526. So starting O field value is 526 at alias. What this O field value will represent and where do we use it, I'll explain later. Just hold on to the thought. So there is a random number used as a O field value by alias at the starting as some 526, whatever it is. And the C field value typically will be containing information about what is your IP address. You are using IPv4 IP address, which is 192.0.2.101 is your IP address. And the audio port number is in the M field 49,172. This is all your SDP data, session description protocol data. 49,172 is your audio port number, and the codec that it is attaching is PCMU 8000 codec, pulse code modulation 8000 codec. It is only supporting one codec and it is sending that one codec information. Great. So this kind of SDP data is attached to your invite method and sent to Bob. What Bob guy is doing, because Bob is supposed to send the reply back directly, it is sending a ringing information back. Bob to Alice, you are getting the reply. And in the reply, we have ringing, sorry, we have ringing for the invite method. The via field is the same as the one that is um, attached by the alias. This is alias details that will be there. So there is a branch parameter also, the same thing copy pasted. But only additional details that are attached by your Bob guy is it is noting down that I have received this information from this IP address 192.0.2.101. This information is added by Bob guy. Actually, when the message is received from the alias, Bob added this information. Actually, via field is added by alias, but this received part typically will be added by the receiving component, because here the receiving component is Bob. Bob added this information. I have received this particular the previous message, invite message from this IP address. And the from and to fields are not going to be changed ever in any invite method in SIP. So from will be Alice, to will be Bob. For example, if you write a mail, typically your address will be from and your friend's address will be to. If your friend is replying back, your friend's address will be from and your address will be to. That is normal mail mechanism. But in case of SIP, it won't be that way. From address and to address won't change in SIP responses also. From address will be termed as Alice itself and to address will be termed as Bob itself. You don't need to change it. Only thing that will be changed is in the to field, you will have a tag attached. Once the tag attached, along with this tag and the unique call ID, these three things together, we call it as a dialog established in SIP. So we call that as a SIP dialog. So C sequence is invite. Contact is bob at client.biloxy.example.com. Bob guy is quoting his FQDN, which can be converted into IP address, and he is using the transport as TCP. Content length is 0 because this is a provisional response. This is not a final response. So Bob guy is not sending any SDP content. SDP content is arriving at the time of a final response called as 200 OK. The same tags are used. Everything else is the same that we have studied. Only additional details here are along the content length is not 0 right now. It is 147. The kind of content that Bob guy is sending to you is SDP data. In the SDP data, Bob is using the O field values as 527. whatever that is, which I have to explain later to you, but it is 527, and this is IP address for the Bob guy, and it is telling that this is my IP address, and I'm using the audio port number as 3456 to receive the RTP traffic, voice traffic, and I'm also suggesting that we use PCMU 8000 codec for our voice traffic exchanging. Um, so Bob Guy has sent the acceptance. This is a call accepted. So once the call accepted, because that is a final response received from Bob, you are supposed to send an acknowledgement. So Alice will be sending an acknowledgement ACK, and it is going to include the dialog parameters, both the tags that are created and the call ID, the unique call ID that has been created. And the where field is attached by the alias client.atlanta.example.com 5060 branch parameter. And that is the acknowledgement, no content length, because this is just a acknowledgement for your final response. How do we know that this acknowledgement is for the final response? That information will be understood with the help of the dialog parameters, tag, and call ID. If you have these tag, and call ID, from that the receiving component can understand that this acknowledgement is generated for the final response I have sent. Because this tag field attached by the alias is only known to alias after receiving the acknowledgement, after receiving the 200 OK message. Otherwise, this tag field wouldn't have been known to alias. Okay, so Bob quoted this tag field. So because this tag field is attached, Bob Guy understands that, okay, uh, Alice is sending this acknowledgement as a positive acknowledgement that he has received my 200 OK, and he is sending back with this two tags and this call ID. That is all. So RTP streams are established between Alice and Bob. Um, RTP traffic won't be shown in this uh, document. You just have to imagine that the RTP traffic is going on. This document only contains the SIP related messages. After some time, Bob hangs up with the allies, and we will be continuing with the buy. So in buy, we will be sending sequence number is 1, and method we are initiating is buy with the same tag parameters, two tag parameters, and the call ID, which tells which session is getting terminated, or which dialog is getting terminated. So these two tags and the call ID will explain which dialogue is getting removed between Bob and Alice. Bob is proposing it. Okay, so this guy is wire field is Bob's wire field right now. Client.biloxy.example.com is the Bob guy, and 5060 is Bob's port number and the Bob branch parameter, because Bob is initiating this buy method, and Alice is sending OK for this buy method, and it is sending. For the buy method OK, you don't need to report back with acknowledgement. So there is one exception. For the invite method final response, you need to send a acknowledgement. For buy method OK, the other guy need not to send acknowledgement. So you will just have a 200 OK with that the call is terminated. This particular session with these three dialog parameters is terminated. Okay. Now we are considering a much deeper um, call flow. Alice doesn't know the Bob's IP address directly. Um, Alice only know Bob's SIP URI because sometime back Bob has given his SIP URI to Alice when he met on maybe a friendly party. Bob has told, hey, this is my SIP URI. If you want to call me, you use this SIP URI and make a call. Alice is present under one company under proxy 1. Bob is under another company with under proxy 2. Proxy 1 is Alice's outgoing proxy. Proxy 2 is Bob's incoming proxy. Um, so, of course, registers are hidden. Alice might have registered with his own company's register. Bob would have registered with his own company's register. By ignoring the registers that the registers are there. We are only just by considering that the proxies are involved here. We are studying this procedure. So if you see the steps, Alice is in the first step is sending an invite to proxy one. Proxy one is telling, hey, not only at the time when you are performing the registration with the register, you need to authenticate, but you need to do proxy authentication as well. That means if you are making any outgoing calls, you need to prove that you are the genuine guy to me. Then only I will accept your call and I will forward the call to the next point. Otherwise, I won't take your outgoing call in a positive way. So here proxy is asking for the authorization by sending 407 code. 407 is called as proxy authorization needed. Because it is a final response sent by proxy 1 for every final response. All responses 200 series, 300 series, 400, 500, 600 series are called as final responses. If you generate any invite method, if final responses arise from the other side, you must be sending an acknowledgement for that. So that is the rule. So according to that rule, you will have to um, send this ACK for this 407. Hey, I understood that, man. Wait, uh, let me counter that. Let me come back to you. In the comeback, Jitendra, the question is good question. The question is these via call ID, contact, max forward, all these things are part of the header or just as AVPs. We don't have any such concept called as AVPs in SIP. Every protocol will use its own nomenclature, and we should not mix procedures conventions from one protocol conventions to other protocol conventions or nomenclature. We should not do that. So the AVP is a terminology which is foreign to SIP. SIP never uses that terminology. But when you do the comparison on the protocol designs, Diameter decided that there are some standard header fields that are required in every Diameter protocol message, and they have called that as a common header. And all the floating parameters they have named as AVPs. AVPs will be different in different diameter messages we send. Header part is constant. But when you take SIP protocol messages, they thought that none of the header parameters are fixed. So we will never fix any header fields. All the parameters are floating parameters, which are part of the header itself. So basically, whatever we call them as AVPs in diameter, we can call them in SIP as header fields, and none of the header fields are fixed. In different SIP protocol messages, we'll have different header fields. So there is no need that we must send a header field. We must have a header field in SIP, for example. There might not be any such rule, or even if that there is a rule that a SIP message must contain some n number of header fields, they decided that hey, we never divide it and call it as some of them as header fields and some of them are AVPs. Mandatory header fields we'll call it as header, and the remaining header fields we call it as AVPs. Nothing like that. They have considered everything as header fields itself. That's it. That is how they have designed it. Um, it is all maybe in terms of protocol design. For example, if you take the standard header fields that are present in the diameter, you don't need to explain about what is the field name and what is the length of the field, etc. Because those header fields are constant, which are known to both diameter sender as well as diameter receiver. Both sender and receiver know what is the size of the standard diameter header field sizes. Like version is 8 bits, your diameter message code is 24 bits. Our length is 24 bits. Like that, every field size is the fields that are present in the header part, the length is known, and which field is present in which location is already known. All these things are known to both sender as well as receiver. But by the time we go to AVPs, in the every AVP, not only we need to have the value part for the AVP, we need to have a AVP code because different AVPs will be present in different diameter messages. So to explain which AVPs we are including, you need to have AVP code, you need to have AVP length because each AVP will have a different length. We and then the value part. These are the primary things that we will have in the AVP section. But for the header fields, none of the things will be there. Directly value part will be there. So this is your version. The next 24 bits is the length. Like that, directly the value only will be present. You don't need to have the code and you don't need to have the length because code and length are fixed. For the header fields, all the header fields are constant in every diameter message. They have fixed it. These things are variable. They some which AVPs will be present in every diameter message can be different. So sender doesn't know which AVPs he is going to send. That receiver doesn't know which AVPs he is going to receive. So depending on what AVPs the sender is sending, sender need to include corresponding code, length, and actual value part so that the receiver will understand which AVPs it has received from the sender. It'll understand that. But for header part, you don't need to explain anything. The sender doesn't need to explain. Receiver will understand which parameters he has received. So there are fixed parameters which you have placed into the header. Some variable parameters they have placed it into the AVP. So that is the diameter design. But by the time we come to SIP, they have decided that there is no such logic. Everything we are going to call them as header fields them itself. Everything is a header field, whether they are mandatory or whether they are optional, doesn't matter. We are just simply calling them as header fields. This is how SIP is designed. Why SIP is designed in this way? Because you don't need to specify SIP header fields length. Why you don't need to specify the SIP header field length? Because SIP is a text-based protocol. If you look into the SIP uh, protocol, it is a text-based protocol. How do we know that where a SIP header field is finishing? You will understand it with the help of its syntax. Just like programming languages, scripting languages will have a syntax. You will have syntax for every header field. Name of the field is going to be finishing after the colon. There will be one space after the colon, and then you will have the version like SIP2.0 TCP. There is a space, and then the actual value part and port number. After semicolon, whatever you have called it as SIP header field parameters. After the parameters are finished, you will have something called as CRLF. The moment you see CRLF, that is the end of your SIP header field. You don't need header field because it will be indicated by the CRLFs. Whenever you hit a CRLF, at the end of every header field, you will have a CRLF. That is why I took a lot of time yesterday and explained you that part. After every header field, you will have CRLF, carriage return line field, which is a code for 13 and 10. Whenever they see this digital code 13 and 10, they will consider that as the end of the header one header field and the next header field starts. So it will be understood on the basis of text. So you don't need to represent the length information in any of the header fields. It is a text-based protocol. I have told you that 30 times, but the real meaning of text-based means the receiving guy will understand where is the end of the header, where is the end of the header field with the help of the textual information added itself by using some codes. So that is the protocol design aspects. But anyway, we come out of that question. Now we study the actual log. So the Allies guy is sending a message to proxy invite. bob@biloxy.example.com, version is 2.0, via field SIP 2.0 TCP, client.atlanta.example.com 5060. This is the FQDN of Allies, who is initiating this call. This is the FQDN, and this is the port number on which it is operating with SIP branch parameter, maximum forward 70, route. It is including the route information. It is informing that, hey, I would like my invite message to go to a component called as ss1.atlanta.example.com, who is nothing but the proxy itself, the atlanta.com proxy, that is the Allies proxy. So we are recommending, we are preparing a SIP message with the recommendation included in it that this must go to the this particular SIP proxy, ss1.atlanta.example.com. And there is a from parameter which is allies at atlanta.example.com. There is a tag included. There is no to tag. There is this call ID, which is ending with 511, and 6s1 is the from tag. And C sequence one invite contact is his contact details. My username is Alice, and my FQDN is this, my IP address, and transport I use is TCP. I'm adding SDP 151. There is O parameter which is using same kind of values, IP address, port number, and the pulse code modulation RTP traffic that you are generating. So the invite message is generated. Now we can assume that it is going from Allies to proxy 1. Allies obviously know the IP address of proxy 1. It is sending it, it is packing the SIP message into UDP. UDP message is packed into IP. Source IP address is going to be Allies IP address. Destination IP address is going to be proxy 1's IP address. So who receives this invite message is proxy 1. What does proxy 1 is doing? Proxy 1 is challenging Allies for authentication. Hey, you are generating an outgoing call, but you did not provide proxy authentication. I am configured in such a way that I should not be accepting outgoing calls without proxy authorization. So I expect you to take my nonce and generate the response and send it back to me. Then only I will accept your invite that you are sending out. So proxy authorization required 407, which is a final response that is coming back from um, the proxy 1 replying back to Allies. Okay. So in this case, what happened? In this case, the to tag is created by here. The to tag is created by the proxy 1 itself. So proxy 1 is acting as the server here, user agent server, because he is the one who is sending the final response. He is not letting Bob guy to send the tag value. A user agent server is the one who need to attach the to tag. So because the to tag is attached by the proxy 1, now we have to consider proxy 1 as the user agent server. So whichever guy sends the final response, that guy is user agent server. So for a short duration, um, Alice is the user agent client, and your proxy 1 is the user agent server. Bob is not the user agent server yet, because we know that the call is never forwarded to Bob. It is still at your proxy 1. So proxy 1 is replying back with a tag. And right now the dialogue is created between um, Allies and proxy 1. The dialogue is created between, not between Allies and Bob. So the meaning of the dialogue is, Allies and proxy 1 are talking about authentication in their dialogue. Allies is Proxy 1 is telling you that, hey, I am replying back for your message that you have generated, even though I know that you have generated it towards Bob guy. I know that, but I'm responding back because you did not authenticate. Without authentication, I am not allowed to take up accept your calls and proceed further with it. So I'm generating the tag. 6s1 is there, and this 511 is there, but this tag is created by proxy 1. So he is acting as the user agent server. Okay, great. Uh, So what point I made here is whichever component responding back to the client will be considered as user agent server. That's the point. Okay, come down. Um, Alice is talking to proxy one, sending an acknowledgement. Hey, because you have sent me a you have sent me an what a final response. I'm supposed to send you an acknowledgement for the final response. So I have used the 6S1, the tag that you have used, I have pasted, and the call ID. So these are the dialog parameters between you and me. I'm acknowledging your final response you have sent me. Okay, so now Alice is going to respond back by resending the invite method with authentication credentials inside it. So Alice is sending the message once again to proxy one. This time it is attaching the via parameter once again. The route is again the same proxy one information ss1.atlanta.example.com. From is the alias with the tag, but the to tag is cleared here, and to tag is cleared because we wanted to send the invite method to Bob guy. We want the tag parameter to be created by the Bob by accepting this invite. Earlier invite was um, not responded by Bob. Invite was responded by proxy one because you have failed in authenticating. So you are resending this message. Second time you are sending the invite and you are including your contact details, etc. But majorly you are sending this proxy authorization details with the norms sent by the proxy and the response value which is calculated by MD5 algorithm, which will be validated by the proxy server to decide whether you are a genuine guy or not. Uh, and as usual, you are including the SDP information 151 bytes. So the details are the same that are present in the original invite method. Only this invite method additionally containing this proxy authorization and the to tag field earlier quoted by the proxy has been cleared because we want the to tag to be created by the Bob because we want the dialogue with the Bob guy, not with the proxy. So what happened to the dialogue with the proxy that has been opened up? We have to conclude that the dialogue is automatically inclusively closed. It we are implicitly closed automatically because the moment we use the same tag field here, by removing the to tag field, automatically we consider that the previous dialogue has been removed. We are refreshing the dialogue by having only the from tag and the call ID without having any to tag. So by sending this authorization details to proxy, we are informing to proxy that, hey, I don't want to continue the dialogue with you when you wanted to reject my authorization. You have created a dialogue parameter to tag. You have created and responded back to me. And on the same to tag, I have sent you an acknowledgement back by respecting that I must send a acknowledgement for every final response message. In that, I have included the to tag as well because I am sending that acknowledgement to you, not to Bob guy. Um, I am sending it to you. I know that you have created the dialogue parameter. I have respected that. But now I am clearing it, meaning is I am not continuing the dialogue with you. I wanted to create the dialogue with Bob guy. So that is what you are informing to the proxy here. Okay. So what does the proxy one do here? It will validate this response and find out that the user is genuine or not. If he finds out that the user is genuine and proxy one accepts the credentials and it decides to forward it further. Okay. So proxy one is sending it information to proxy two. While proxy one is sending it to proxy two, one additional via field has been added. This additional via field is proxy one's via field. ss1.atlanta.example.com is the proxy one. And the port number he is operating is 5060. Branch parameter is for maintaining the transactions. For every transaction, for every user, one branch parameter will be created. And in the second wire, the previous wire field is added by the client.atlanta.example.com, who is nothing but Alice. This is Alice FQDN, Alice port number and branch parameter, and this is the Alice IP address. The proxy one has noted down, hey, this is the IP address on which I have received the traffic from Alice. I'm noting it down. Once the reply message comes back, when I have to send the reply to Alice, I know what is the Alice IP address because I'm noting it down in this wire field. Actually, in the previous wire field, we don't have that IP address parameter present in the wire field. IP address is not present in the wire field when it is sent from Alice to proxy one. So who is noting down? Who is additionally attaching that IP address information in front of this client1.atlanta.example.com wire field? This is Alice wire field added by Alice, but proxy one is making modification to this wire field. What modification it is doing? It is noting down the IP address information there. I have received it from this on this IP address from Alice. I am noting it down. Plus, additionally, proxy one is attaching its own wire field. My FQDN is ss1 dot atlanta.example.com. My operating SIP port number is 5060. This is my branch parameter. I'm operating on TCP. SIP 2.0 is my flavor. And the maximum forwards has got reduced by 1. When Alice generated it, maximum forwards value was 70. Now it has become 69. So every time a SIP message gets forwarded from one component to the next component, you will be reducing the maximum forward value by 1. And the record route, we have SIP ss1.atlanta.example.com. It is we are recording the route. Record route means recording the route. So the first proxy component we have it is ss1.atlanta.example.com, and there is the from address and the to address. From address is having the tag. There is no to tag, call ID, invite, contact field, content that we have attached. Same thing. Once it receives it here, um, proxy one immediately is going to send a message to Alice called as 100 trying. Hey man, I have received your invite method. I have already I am processing it and I am forwarding it also to other proxy. So I'm reporting it to you with the trying so that you will be convinced that the message is sent successfully received by me. So this trying is a provisional response which will be sent by every component who receives it and process it. It can respond back immediately to the previous component and send this provisional response called as trying. Meaning of trying is I have received your invite message that you have sent with this C sequence number 2 with this tag and with no 2 tag and with this call ID. I have received it. I am trying to fulfill that request that you have sent. I indeed forwarded that message to proxy 2 as well. I'm reporting that this will be successful. You have to please wait for this to complete. We wait for this to get completed. That is the meaning of 100 trying sent by proxy 1 to Alice to report that his call initiated is going through successfully. Nothing wrong is happening for that, and it is going through. That is the meaning of this 100 trying. So you won't receive the 100 trying from the destination component itself. The middle components also can send 100 trying. It is just a provisional response. So basically, Alice will feel happy that invite method is successfully processed by receiving this 100 trying from proxy one. And then proxy one initiates the message, starts sending it towards the Bob. When proxy two is initiates the message towards Bob. Which message? The invite method. And a proxy to include his wire field. My FQDN is ss2.biloxy.example.com. This guy is the proxy to. That's where Bob guy is there. And the port number is 5060. There is a branch parameter. Even proxy 2 noted down the IP address of proxy 1 in second via field. In the second via field, when it is sent by the proxy 1 to proxy 2, that time proxy 1 did not add this IP address. This is included by proxy 2, the received IP address as 192.0.2. That is the proxy 1's IP address. In- this is noted down by proxy 2 for his future use. Hey, I have actually received this message from proxy 1 on this IP address. It has noted down, and proxy 2 included his wire field here. So totally we have three wire fields. This is the Alice wire field. This is the proxy 1 wire field. This is the proxy 2 wire field when it is being sent to Bob. So the wire fields will be pushed down. So actually, this is the first one added. This is the second one added. This is the third one added. The guy who receives the message knows that I need to respond to this first guy who is present in the first wire field. That guy will send it to this guy. This guy will send it to this guy. It is like that. And maximum forwards value is further reduced to 68. Um, this default value typically will be 70, and normally it will be configurable maximum forwards, and the default value is 70 if it is not configured. And the record route, we have ss2.biloxy.example.com. That is the second proxy that you have hit. First proxy information has already been added previously. We are recording the route information that we are traveling through.
So,
And yes,
sir, for this branch ID for all the proxies, proxies, it will be having this point
not
one
only
concept.
proxies, anybody who forwards any SIP message will be including this branch parameter.
No, sir, this point one concept. Branch ID with the point one.
Branch parameter is very simple. If, for example, if this proxy forwarded, SS1 proxy forwarded 500 SIP messages so far by receiving it from 500 clients. For every client, it will create a unique branch
Hello.
ID.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, what is the basis on which maximum forwards value is decided?
I've already told you. I've already told that answer, right? Why are you asking it again? I told you that it is configurable. If you don't configure it, default value is 70. There is no
Okay, sir. Okay.
basis for that.
Okay.
It typically depends on something called as how many nodes you have to cross to reach the destination. Okay, I don't know whether I have answered your question or not, Proxima. So can you repeat? Yeah.
Yeah, sir, what I'm asking is like for the main, user agent and user server, where like Alice and Bob, the branch ID is the normal that some random number Z9 starts with Z9 and ended with F9. But for all proxy servers, it will be like ended with point one. What is that point one?
Actually, that point ones are nothing. Uh, you can use any random number. Even that point also is part of that number. Any characters you can use for generating that branch parameter. Doesn't matter. You can use special characters also. The meaning of the dot is there is representing us that it is you can use even special characters including dot, commas, etc., etc. So you are allowed to do that. That is the meaning of it.
Okay, so it is
There is no
okay. Okay, so
specific
it is
meaning
not
of that. You
categorized.
can create any number. You can create simple numbers also. You can mix it, match. You can have English characters. You can have numbers. You can have English characters, special characters, numbers, etc. So what and all characters we can use to create the branch parameter. The rules are common, doesn't matter which component is generating that branch parameter. Just because this guy did not use that thing doesn't mean that he is not allowed to use it. He's nothing like that. Okay, so he is allowed to use that.
Okay.
Sir, here we are using means Bob and Alice. This is two different hardware, means two different user agents. So that port number it should change like
Uh,
yesterday what port number 5060 or 50601 like that. It should change or
I'm not getting your voice uh,
yeah,
here.
it's audible. It's audible.
Yeah, can you speak closer to your piece? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Sir, actually today because we are using two user agents. So like that
I'm
exactly
losing your question completely, Pranay. Can you please type your question?
okay. Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. I'll do it.
Port number 5060 is actually a reserved port for SIP operations. Just like port number 80 is reserved for HTTP, port number 2123 is reserved for GTPC. Like that, for different application protocols, different famous port numbers will be there reserved. For SIP operations, typically the port number we use is 5060, but doesn't mean that we have to use 5060 always on all the components. But we are using two user agents and different proxies. Doesn't matter. Proxies also have to receive the SIP protocol messages, and they have to process the SIP protocol messages. So they must also have a port number opened for receiving the SIP signaling messages. It doesn't mean that only the user agent need to have the port number. Even the proxies also need to have the port numbers, because the protocol stack is going to be the same. Even between your user agent, client, and proxy, the protocol stack is SIP, UDP, IP, Ethernet, and physical file layered structure. And in the proxy side, we have SIP, UDP, IP, Ethernet, and physical. So at IP, we'll have IP address. At UDP level, we'll have the port numbers. Or TCP, we can use TCP or UDP, anything that is the port number which is involved with where your proxy is receiving is signaling messages on which port number it is receiving on. If the data arrives on 5060, it will be sent to SIP protocol. So to identify the data should be going into which application, we will be using the port number at any component. Doesn't matter which component it is. I don't know whether I've answered your question or not, Pranay.
Uh,
Actually, the reserved port number for SIP is 5060. Doesn't mean that we have to use SIP 5060 must be only for SIP. No need. If none of the SIP applications are installed on your computer, you can use 5060 for even for other applications also. Idea is, if you are not if you are not using any port numbers, for example, if you did not install any HTTP related applications on your computer, port number 80 will be free. You can use port number 80 for any operations, any other protocol data sending. But if the application is installed, typically that application will be occupying that port number, will be using that port number. That is the idea of reserving the port numbers for famous applications. have lost track of this. So finally, Bob Guy have received this thing. Bob Guy have received the message, the invite method with all these details present inside it. And there is a reply coming back, proxy 2 to proxy 1, trying. So because proxy 2 is sending the provisional response to proxy 1. Hey, I have received your message. I have processed it. I have sent it. I'm reporting a success by sending a provisional response to you to proxy 1. So every component must be confident that his message received by the other guy, and the other guy has processed it successfully and forwarding it. So you must be confident about that. So proxy 2 is also reporting to proxy 1 that with 100 trying. So once this is also done, finally Bob Guy has received it. Now it is the time for the Bob Guy to send some response, either a provisional response or a final response. Bob Guy is directly responding back with a provisional response called as 180 ringing. Bob is sending it to proxy 2. So Bob noted down that the IP address of the proxy 2 is 192.0.2.222. That is where Bob will be sending his SIP response message back to proxy 2 by including all the wire fields and by including also the route record route information, ss2.biloxy.example.com, ss1.atlanta.example.com. From and to fields are not changed, but now at the to field there is a tag created. This tag represents that there is a dialog getting created between user agent client and user agent server. There is a dialog got created with this tag parameter, and there is a call ID, and this ringing message is for this invite method with no content present inside it. This ringing message will have to travel all across the path from Bob to proxy 2, proxy 2 to proxy 1, proxy 1 to the allies guy it has to go to. Okay, so it will travel obviously. So the next ringing message we see is from proxy 2 to proxy 1. Inside that we have only two wire fields. The topmost wire field has been removed because proxy 2 already received the protocol message. It will be removing its own wire information when it is forwarding the ringing message from proxy 2 to proxy 1.
Hello.
Yes, Rahul.
Sir, while Bob is sending a ringing message to proxy 2, will proxy 2 do authentication process like Alice case?
Incoming call, whether authentication is needed or not, it is configurable on the proxy. In this example, we have to consider that it is not configured. To receive the incoming calls, you don't need to authenticate. So without authenticating itself, the invite method has been forwarded to the user. So we have the proxy 2 to proxy 1. We have the information here going on between proxy 2 to proxy 1. So we have ss1.atlanta.example.com, client.atlanta.example.com. Only two wire fields are present, and there is a record route information that is present there, ss2.biloxy.example.com, ss1.atlanta.example.com. So the same record route information is attached and the reply is sent back. Now once proxy 1 receives it, proxy 1 send it to allies. So here proxy 1 is sending it to allies, the same information. And when proxy 1 sends it to allies, 180 ringing message, one more wire field has been removed. Only one wire field is present. That is the Alice wire field. Proxy 1 has also removed his wire field information, and the record route is still there, and there is a from and there is a to tag received by now Alice. Now Alice and Bob, we can say that they have entered into a dialogue, because Alice also got to know this to tag. It has received the to tag. From now onwards, we consider that Alice and Bob are in within the dialogue. So the rules within the dialogue are applicable from now onwards. So the invite method ringing message is received. So after the ringing message, you are going to have Bob accepting the call. When the Bob is accepting the call, it will be generating a OK message, and you'll be sending it to proxy 2. Again, for forwarding this OK message, Bob will be including 3 wire fields as usual, and record route and the from to tag, the same tag, and the call ID all are present, but there is a OK message. Previous one is a provisional response, 180 ringing to explain the originating guy that the phone is ringing, but here we are sending a OK to report that the call has been accepted by the Bob. It has been received by the Bob, and this contains SDP information, application or SDP data, and it is 147. Content length is 147 and 192.0.2.201, and the port number it is operating is 3456 for his audio data, and pulse code modulation is the codec that you choose. Okay, so what happens next? Proxy 2 will forward this message to proxy 1, and 200 OK message with the 2 wire fields present in it, and then the same message will be forwarded from proxy 1 to Alice with a single wire field present inside it here. So now, because that is a final response, you are supposed to send acknowledgement for the final response, and when Alice is generating the ACK acknowledgement for the final response message, it is forwarding it to proxy 1 by including the wire field. This time it is including the route fields. The idea of including the route field is that the proxies doesn't need to search where to forward these SIP message, because route field is included by using the previous knowledge. We are including both SS1 information and SS2 information. The proxy 1 understands that I am the first component who will be receiving this message. I need to forward it to ss2.biloxy.example.com. I don't need to look anywhere for forwarding this message to SS2. I don't need to search where to forward it or whatever, because the guy who is generating the message itself is advising me to send it to ss2.biloxy.example.com. And there is a from address, and there is a to address that is present, and there is a call ID and acknowledgement and content length you have from Alice to proxy 1. So that is that. Reverse message, and wire fields will keep getting added from proxy 1 to proxy 2. The acknowledgement message goes, and proxy 2 sends it to Bob. Another wire message will be added, 3 wire messages, but you can see that the route information is getting removed. So first time when Alice is sending it to proxy, 2 proxies information is attached, but when proxy 1 is forwarding it to proxy 2, only one route information is present. When proxy 2 is sending it to Bob, there is no route information present, because we are already reaching the destination. So with the same dialog parameters, acknowledgement is sent. So once this is done, we can say that the SIP call is established at this stage. Now the RTP streams will be established between Alice and Bob, and one guy will be terminating the calls. Bob will be hanging up and terminating the calls. So it sends the bye. with one via message present inside. Right now, who is initiating the SIP method? Bob is initiating the SIP method. Bob is not sending a reply. Bob is the one who is initiating the SIP method. Buy is a separate SIP method. Initiator for the SIP method is Bob. Only one via field is present, and the maximum forward 70 is including the route details. So this buy method will be traveling through ss2.biloxy.example.com and ss1.atlanta.example.com. It will be traveling through these two routes. And there is a from address and there is a to address. And there is a call ID, there is a C sequence and content length 0. There is no content length. Proxy2 um, dot proxy2 is sending it to proxy1, and there is a wire field and there is a route field as well that is included in here. Okay, so one route field has been reduced and there is this wire field present, and the same information is sent with one more wire field added. A route field information is completely removed. Finally, Alice received this buy message. He need to supposed to reply back to this buy message with a 200 OK. It will be sending with 200 OK with all the three wires included inside it without any route information. With wires are present, route information is not needed. You require only one of the two. If wires are there, reply can go back with the help of the wires. Route information is needed when you are generating a method. So Bob is generated a method, he included the route information, but Alice is sending a response to the method that is initiated. Wire fields are enough for sending the message, so route information is not needed because you can travel with the help in reversing of these wire fields. And there is this Bob and Alice. That's details have been added, and there is this call ID, and you are sending 200 OK for this buy method. Proxy1 will forward it to proxy2. One wire field is removed, and then proxy2 will send it to Bob. Another wire field is removed. Bob finally received the final acknowledgement OK message for his buy method that is initiated, and that we can consider that the SIP session has been terminated at this stage. So if we go back to Control F 3.2, previous. If you go to this 3.2 and search for this section session establishment, through two proxies. So we have seen this whole procedure: invite, 407, acknowledgement, another invite message is after invite message is forwarded to proxy2. Proxy1 is sending 100 message, like it is to explain the allies that I am processing your message. It is a provisional response. Another 100, and once you send the invite to Bob, he is sending a provisional response called as ringing. Ringing arrived all the way up to allies. This guy picked up the call, and it is 200 OK. For the 200 OK, we are acknowledging back with an ACK. And after that, the RTP traffic gets established and they will speak to each other. One guy is terminating the call by sending bye, and you will be sending a 200 OK for that.
Sir,
Yes.
could you please repeat that SDP parameter s equals to hyphen? What does that mean?
Mm, which parameter? SDP. Which
SDP parameter s
this
equals to
I'm not explaining you all the parameters in SDP. There are at least 200 parameters in SDP, so we cannot learn all those parameters. I'm only introducing important ones, so we are ignoring the ones that are not so important. Okay, I will send you the RTP specification, sorry, SDP specification. If you want, you can actually go through those and understand all these parameters which I'm not covering. Okay.
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah.
Right. SIP with multiple proxy authentication. When Alice is originating the invite method, proxy 1 sent 407 proxy authorization required, and it is acknowledged. And then we are sending the invite and authorizing the proxy by sending authorization details, and it is accepted, proceeded further. But when the same invite method is sent to proxy 2, even proxy 2 wanted to validate Alice, then proxy 2 will send proxy authorization required 407 message to proxy 1, which is acknowledged, and we will be reporting the same thing to Alice. Hey, I'm not the one who is rejecting your invite method. Proxy 2 is also asking for proxy authentication. You need to prove your genuinity to proxy 2 as well. So, and then you have to send a invite method in step 11 with the two proxy authorizations. One proxy authorization to satisfy proxy 1, one proxy authorization to satisfy proxy 2. You will have to include two proxy authorizations in F11 and send a message, and it will be accepted, and it will be completed. So if you study the steps, we need to be more interested in F11 step itself. So F1, which is rejected with proxy authorization needed, we are sending ACK and we are re-inviting with one proxy authorization. Proxy authorization message, we are sending it to atlanta.example.com by this for this URI for the call. But uh, it is acknowledged by proxy 1. I am trying it, he told you. He forwarded it to proxy 2 also. But proxy 2 sent, I also need to authenticate the user. Proxy 2 sending to proxy 1. And he is providing the his own nonce. And then what proxy 1 is doing, it is telling the allies that, hey, this proxy authentication is not by me. The biloxy.com domain proxy also would like to authenticate you, and he has given you a nonce, and you are supposed to calculate another another response and send it to me. And it is coming from proxy 1 to allies. Now allies will have to send a invite method to proxy 1 by including two proxy authorizations. We have one proxy authorization by creating his own his own nonce. It will be generating the authorization for the purpose of atlanta.com proxy, and for authorizing it with Biloxy, you will be using this nonce, and this is your response parameter. So what does proxy 1 do is it will authorize the user with the proxy information, with the authentication information attached for his purpose, and remove that proxy authorization before forwarding it to proxy 2. So you will be, when proxy 1 is sending and trying, and after that proxy 1 forwards it to proxy 2 with only one proxy authorization present inside, only one nonce and one response parameter. One proxy authentication authorization part has been removed. Again, even when forwarding it from proxy 2 to the Bob, even this authorization details will be removed, because proxy 2 just will verify whether this response is correct or not. After it is proved to be correct, proxy 2 can simply forward the message to Bob without containing any authorization details. The invite message will go, and the call will be continued till the end. We don't need to study it again and again. It will be the same concept for the remaining part of the call. We can ignore that section. Um, Now, Alice is configured with two proxy details in its configuration. Alice is configured with two proxies, proxy 1 and proxy 2. So what is going to be the proxy 1 and proxy 2 part here? Um, we have Alice has sent enough number of invites to proxy 1, but proxy 1 is not responding anything at all, is not sending any provisional responses that it is forwarding or whatever. He is not even responding back. Because he is not responding back, you kept on sending the invite methods, but you tried maximum number of times. After that, Alice decided that proxy 1 is not helping, but I have another secondary proxy configured in my information. I think I can use the service as a proxy 2 here to reach out to Bob. So instead of using the proxy 1 services, so he is forwarding the invite method directly to proxy 2, because proxy 2 details are configured with Alice. So proxy 1 details are configured, proxy 2 details are configured with Alice. If Alice is configured with only proxy 1, you can only try out this, and if it is failed, it would have considered it as a permanent failure. It would have to keep quiet. But because proxy 2 details are also configured in Alice for some reason, it all depends on configuration. It is a play with configuration. So Alice knows proxy 2, because anyway proxy 1 is not responding back. So you are forwarding the invite method to proxy 2. Proxy 2 is helping you to establish your call. So there is nothing much we need to study in terms of call flow. So we are sending this invite method from Alice to proxy 1 with a lot of details, as usual, all the details that we have seen earlier. And there is no response. You keep sending it to proxy 1 the same message as F1, same message. You keep sending it. After attempting n number of times, Alice gives up on the unresponsive proxy. But because proxy 2 information is configured, Alice started sending the message to proxy 2, and is quoting his contact details and call ID, etc. But the IP address to whom you will be forwarding directly is proxy 2's IP address, because proxy 1 did not respond back to you.
Sir, is there any default timer concept for keep on trying?
Configuration, it all works on configuration. You can configure it as a user, or operator can configure it as an administrator. In different devices, we can configure different things. So all these proxy configurations and individual user setup configurations are your choice. You can do whatever you want. It will be based on your client. For example, let us assume that you have your Skype. In the Skype, you can actually set your Skype user availability to busy. Meaning is you are asking anybody who wanted to call you that you are busy right now, don't want to take the calls. This is your configuration, your choice.
Sir, for the registration, suppose user agent is sending the registration message. So after there should be some default timer. Like after this timer, again it can retry
For
for
all
the
SIP
registration.
messages, yes, I understood your question. For all SIP messages, there will be a timer involved. Before the timer, you need to at least get a provisional response from the other side. Even if you are not even receiving the provisional response, the SIP client will think that the message is missing, and he will start retransmitting it, just like our GTPC protocol. How GTPC operates, it will be operating on the similar lines.
Okay, but sir, here in these call flows, we are not seeing any expire value.
It's not about expiry. You have sent an invite. You are either supposed to receive a final response or you are supposed to receive an provisional response. You did not receive anything for some X amount of time. Here it is not, maybe it is not displayed how much amount of time is configured. That value is configured inside your client. Client knows how much time he has to wait for a provisional response from the other component. That value is configured inside your SIP client itself. Just because it is not written here in the in this log doesn't mean that it is not there. It is there. It will be there. For example, if I search for 3.4, if you come down here, you can read the information here. Uh, Here it is written as what? Alice is configured as a primary SIP proxy server proxy 1 and secondary SIP proxy as proxy 2. Or is unable to use DNS SRV records to locate the proxy 1 and proxy 2. Alice has a valid credentials for both domains to send his invite method to any one of the proxies. Proxy 1 is out of service and does not respond to invites. It is reachable but unresponsive. How do we know that it is reachable? Because you will be having a TCP connection. If you take it as working on TCP, you will send any TCP message, you will receive acknowledgement from the other side in TCP. For example, if you have a SIP protocol message on the application level, and below you are using TCP. So if you send any application protocol message in TCP with the help of TCP, the receiving TCP will reply back. The receiving TCP will reply back and tell this TCP that, hey, whatever application data you have sent, I have received it and I forwarded it to my application layer, which is the SIP layer. The SIP layer in your proxy has received it. But for some reason, because the proxy is unresponsive, is reachable definitely, but he is unresponsive, he is not sending any kind of a response. So after waiting for some X amount of time, whatever the timer is configured in your client, he concluded that, hey, I already received a TCP acknowledgement for my SIP message. That means the SIP message is received. If he would have processed that SIP message and forwarded it to the next guy, definitely he would have sent me an provisional response, 100 trying or whatever he would have sent me with that. He would have replied back to me with that 100 trying, but he did not even send me any provisional response. My timer expired. So what do I imagine is, I think I don't know what happened. Like I would like to remind him once again by retransmitting this message one more time. Let me see if this guy responds, at least if I retransmit it the second time. So you will try n number of times based on whatever that n value that you have configured. After attempting the maximum number of times that you have reached based on the configured value, this guy will conclude that the SIP1 is live but unresponsive. The SIP1 proxy, the proxy one. So you are going to not use his services for continuing further. You're going to directly go to the other secondary proxy that is configured. Are you understanding that?
Okay, so that means in this log file they have just not mentioned, but it is there in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lot of things are not mentioned in this log file. Okay. So it all depends on your configuration, your user configuration, basically. If you look into these things, your register set settings, 3600 seconds is the register. You will be re-registering with your server. So this configuration I'm showing you right now is the configuration for the Xlite software that is installed on my computer. And this minimum time, maximum time values are configured here. And the default session time is configured as 60 seconds. Default session time. Maybe this default session time will include when you enable the session timers, you want your session to be established within this much time. Otherwise, you will be considering that as a failure. So you can configure these kind of things. So you will have these kind of settings available in your on your client. Okay, so depending on those settings, your client will be working out. So one parameter, if you study the every company which is manufacturing these SIP softwares, they will be giving a user guide. What is the meaning of each parameter? If we set it to what value, what is the meaning of it? So they will have a clear guide. Even Xlite also will have that clear guide. So if we open that guide and see what is this poll time, refresh interval time, and what are these default session time and session preference, and what is the minimum and maximum time for register settings. So if you identify all these seconds, etc., so you will be able to understand in what operations your SIP client is going to behave, what in which way it is going to behave. So all that is taken from my configuration. I'm taking SIP. Sorry, my mistake. I'm taking these things from my SIP account settings, properties. So I'm going here and I can set these things. So you read the name of this message and you go to the specification provided by this company and you understand what timer is for what kind of concept, and you will be able to set it up based on what you want. You'll be setting it up. Okay, so in the options also you have some setting up as well. So lot of different parameters you can set up. Okay, so they will tell you like what is the meaning of each of these things. Based on it, you will configure it whatever you want. A lot of things can be configured.
Got it, sir.
And why I'm not teaching you as part of the specification is all these parameters are like will be configured by different company softwares differently. It is not going to be same in every company's environment. It would be different. That's why. But it is there in the background. You have to consider that they are there in the background. Okay. SIP session through SIP ALG. What is the meaning of SIP ALG component? ALG stands for Application Layer Gateway. Why Application Layer Gateway will come into play? Typically, this component is acting as a proxy as well as a ALG. What is the meaning of ALG? It is for the purpose of recording all the voice data that is getting exchanged between Alice and Bob in case if the operator configures it like that. For example, if the government mandates that all the call records must be all the calls between the users must be recorded and to be provided to the government as a mandatory norm. So operators will have to maintain these ALG components to exchange the traffic through these ALG components instead of exchanging it directly. So if you observe, the invite methods are going through and you have provisional responses like 180 call has been accepted and it is acknowledged. But one quite difference that you can see right now here is um, acknowledgement is directly traveling from ALG component to the Bob, but The RTP traffic is not direct from allies to Bob right now. RTP traffic is getting established from allies to ALG component, and another RTP traffic is getting established from ALG component to Bob. So we are having a break mechanism here for your RTP traffic. It is not completely direct from allies to Bob without having any break in the middle. It is not. It is. It is having a middle component playing an important role. So, what is going to happen? I will show you the messages, but the messages are interesting only from the user data point of view. How it is important. If allies quotes a IP address for the user data, RTP traffic, and port number, ALG component will note down that IP address and port number. But ALG component will open one IP address and port number, provide that IP address and port number to Bob guy. And whatever the Bob guy's IP address and port number provided, ALG will note it down. And Bob guy will ALG will ask Bob guy to send the user traffic to his IP address and port number. Whatever the traffic that ALG received on his IP address and port number, he will be making a copy of it. Then it will be sending that copy to the allies component on allies IP address and port number. So basically, ALG here is going to play a mediator role, but for catching the information in the middle. So and storing the data copy. So that is why the RTP traffic is not direct, and your signaling messages are also going through your ALG component here by and everything. So if you study the protocol messages, that so it is a firewall kind of a stuff that we are configuring. So your application layer gateway, it is acting as a SIP proxy as well as a firewall. So this firewall is making a copy in the middle. It is playing an important role even for your media conversion. So sorry, my mistake. Okay. I don't need to search for it. Okay. So Alice is telling it to SIP ALG. Route is ALG component is mandatory. Proxy authorization is included, etc. It is including its IP address 192.0.2.101, and 49,172 is the port number opened up by Alice, and pulse code modulation is his codec type, and but IP address is 101. Remember that, and 49,172. But when SIP ALG component is sending the same message to proxy 2, is including all the details as usual, control part. But by the time we go into the user part, the IP address has been changed. You can observe that IP address change. So this is the ALG components address in the user plane part. The SDP section is user plane, your user data, IP packet, voice packet sending. So this is the ALG's IP address 128. And the port number that ALG component is advertising to Bob guy is 2000, asking the Bob guy that, hey, this is actually the LI's IP address and port number. He's bluffing to the Bob, asking the Bob guy to send the traffic to him on this IP address and on this port number. So swapping the IP address and port number, it replaced it. Earlier, it was never done. Earlier, the IP addresses and port numbers, as usual, got forwarded from allies to proxy 1 to proxy 2 to the Bob. We never changed the IP addresses in the user level. But here it is getting changed because this component is acting as a ALG. And the SIP ALG component will forward it to, will send a 100 trying. All these things will take place. And when Bob responds back, what happens? When Bob sends back a 200 OK after some time, let us get this. Bob is sending a 200 OK to proxy 2, including his IP address as 201 and port number as 3456. The same information comes from proxy 2 to proxy 1, proxy 2 to SIP ALG as well. The information arrives is 201 is the Bob's IP address, 3456 is the ALG's IP address. What does ALG do? When ALG is forwarding it to Alias, ALG is going to replace the IP address with 192.168, and the port number is 1734. So it is telling the allies that Bob's IP address is this IP address and this is the port number. So basically, the ALG component has opened up two port numbers. One port number he has abided it to Alice, and one port number he forwarded to Bob, and telling both the guys to send the traffic to this middle component. In the middle, he is going to play an mediator role and exchanger role. So uh, if ALG receives the traffic from Alice on this 1734 port number, it will be sending it to the Bob. If he is receiving the traffic from the Bob on 2004 port number, and it is going to send it to Alice on the advertised Alice IP address and port number. So Alice will be playing a mediator role, and one copy will be made, and it will be acting as a firewall. And your data will be verified, and a copy would be made and will be submitted to any authorities that are requesting for these things. That's where I would be stopping for today.